welcome to our show today. I'm always excited to have Dr. Rindie Coker with us, and we're at her office in St. Charles. Well, I should say it's in Villa Park. It's on St. Charles, and we're going to be talking about your breathing and what a big impact it has on everything in your body and the oxygen that you need to do that. So I'm going to introduce her, and she's going to tell us about it. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Coker.
Thank you. Good to see you, Karen. All right, so breath. You've heard the saying, breath is life. But did you know that how much of how well you're living and how well you can live can be measured in your breath? You probably know by now, if you've seen me before, is I love tools. I love tools that are helping you self-heal. I love tools that measure things. And I just recently found this new one called Pinoe. Now, I have a degree in nutrition, and they would tell us in school that the real way to measure your metabolism is to take you to a research center or a special hospital ward where they measured your breath. They measured something called VO2 max. And from that, you'd be able to see basically how fast your metabolism was, if you're burning carbs for fuel or fats for fuel preferentially, how many calories you burned at rest and during activity. And they a lot of times did this to see what diets were working for people. So of course, all of us in class were always going, that's great. How do we do that? How do we really know how to help our clients? And Pinoe originated in Greece, and the word Pinoe is actually Greek for breath. So with this handheld portable device, we can measure your VO2 max, we can get your metabolism, we can get your macronutrients, we can get your micronutrients. If you do the active test, where you're actually, I have an exercise bike here, we can also see how you are exercising and what you need to help your longevity, how to maximize your exercise, and how to maximize the food that you eat to really get your body working well. And I'm really excited about what this can do. I had a little accident in January. After I'd been really good at working out, I'd been getting better and exercising, and I fell and broke my leg. So I sat on the couch for a month. So when I got on this, I realized, wow, I have got a whole lot of work to do. But it's really great to have a baseline, and in 3 months, I'll do some work. I'll go back to exercising. I'm going to be meeting with a dietitian probably in a few days and see what it is that I need to get my strength back.
Well, I didn't have to fall to sit on the couch for a while because I have my knee injury that I had from years ago that makes me do that on occasion. But I try to go to the gym several nights a week to keep the muscles up. But I want to talk about the oxygen. When people don't realize, like when people have emphysema, it's because the alveoli in your lung is stretched out from smoking or whatever reason you got it, probably smoking, and it can no longer exchange the oxygen and carbon dioxide the way it used to. And when you're treating a patient with that, people say, well, they can't breathe, turn up the oxygen. You can't turn up the oxygen very high because they're so not used to it, you will kill them. So you have to keep it, instead of a 6 liters, maybe at 3 liters or something. There's nothing worse than watching someone pass away from that, because they're literally drowning inside of themselves in front of you, and there is nothing you can do. There's no shot you can give them that will help them. There's nothing that you can really do at that point. So it's not something you want. So if you could stop smoking, that would be a great thing, because that's one of the major causes of it. And you will see when you do those little oxygen tests on your finger and everything, your oxygen sometimes goes down later at night and everything, but if you have emphysema, it's going to go way down. And it's not a good feeling. So this is something that's interesting.
It is interesting. And just to see that breath has to do not only with your metabolism, but your heart health, your posture. You know, as a naturopath, I'm always looking structurally. So I didn't even know that your breathing had to do with how well you could
Oh yeah,
sit
because
and
you're
stand.
opening your
You're
rib
opening
cage.
up the rib
Yeah.
cage, and people do different kinds of breath work, which should really be individualized. You know, you
And
should work with
something
somebody
else
on
I
that.
noticed, you know, when people have pacemakers in place, a lot of times it's okay, but sometimes I don't know whether it's because they cut the muscle or the place of it or something, or they're trying to protect themselves because there's something in there, but they have a tendency to hunch over like this. Or people on walkers are hunching over because the walkers aren't high, unless you get one of the really good ones that are high. You're hunched over walking around with it, and that all affects your breathing.
It does. Right, so your breathing affects your posture, and your posture affects your breathing.
I did a short vignette on YouTube. Actually, it was through one of the other organizations about teaching kids about posture because it is so important. And as we get older, it gets harder to have a great posture.
It does.
But I had a friend that's a chiropractor, and she had me. I was having a problem because at my business I was on the phone day and night, and I was hunched over on a landline at the time. And so she had me lay flat on the floor for 15 minutes a day and also do this for 5 or 10 minutes. And that did straighten things out because I was also carrying things and schedules and so forth. And so it was making me cockeyed. You got to be careful too to carry things on both sides.
On both sides.
So there's a lot of little things that you can do to help yourself. You always come up with innovations here at your office.
I do, and you mentioned quit smoking. I just had my first hypnotherapy stop smoking client, and it's been about 3 weeks for her now. So
I was going to
we
say you weren't
are-
smoking.
The
The client was smoking.
No, right. She was smoking.
Well, that's a hard thing for a lot of people to stop. Very difficult.
It is very difficult
Mm-hmm.
because it's a habit, you know, and there's so many reasons people smoke. So one of the things about quitting is first you have to really, 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 really want to, for yourself, not just because your doctor told you to or.
Well, you know, what I think about smoking is, like, I had a friend in nursing school. She would get up during the night and smoke. She would smoke during meals. She would smoke, if she was going to the bathroom, she would smoke. And I thought to myself, you know, there isn't anything that you should do with everything else you're doing. So it doesn't make sense to smoke. And that's what people who fall in love with smoking is what they do. They smoke no matter what else they're doing, driving, talking, whatever.
Reading,
So
yeah.
it's best not to start. I don't know who would start in this world today knowing that there are chemicals in there that are going to affect your lungs, but
Oh, people still do.
and it's an expensive habit.
In fact, one of the things is charging for a quit smoking. It's how much do you pay in cigarettes?
And it's a lot now. I don't know what it is now, but I know that it's a lot.
Yeah, I think it's coming up on $10 a pack, or
To poison yourself.
yeah, I know.
So that's not a good thing.
But you know what? It makes people breathe because the whole habit of smoking, you're actually taking those deep breaths, and the nicotine helps with certain neurotransmitters. So it starts out as a habit, but then becomes
an addiction.
It becomes an addiction. But you know, it takes nicotine about 3 days to leave your body. So if you can make it through the first 3 days without cigarettes and focus on where you would be having a cigarette, just take some breaths instead. In fact, you can even act like you're smoking, but without the cigarette. So you still get the calming, you get the break, you get the deep breaths, but you don't get the nicotine. and the how many 300 different chemicals are there.
Well, and that's what I don't understand about some of the things they advertise, because they have nicotine in them and they have you taking nicotine when you're not smoking. So what's the point? Because that's not good for you.
It really, yeah.
It's like a vicious circle.
Yeah, the nicotine in itself has been around for centuries. But so it's really getting all that in your lungs. But what it doesn't do is make those cravings go away. You're just replacing one delivery system with another.
Well, and some people say that they crave it when they have a drink of alcohol or when they're eating certain things. But like I said, it's something that it seems that once you're a smoker, you do it with everything you do. I don't care if you're driving a car or you're eating dinner. It's not a good thing.
But it happens. People start smoking young before they know any better. And suddenly it's 20, 30 years later, and it becomes a part of your personality. It becomes a part of your friends group. So there's a lot of emotions involved in it. So
Well, it used to be, you know, savvy, but it's not now. People don't want to be near you now. And if you've been a smoker, they say that it's really bad when they don't want to smell another smoker afterwards.
No, it gets even worse, you know, because, yeah.
So, all right, you do this test.
Right, yeah. So we don't judge smokers over here. In fact, you're fine, you know. Anyway, so we do the test. We can do what's called the resting metabolic test. You have to be away from food and caffeine and smoking for about 5 hours. So we really get the body in its fasted state. The test itself, you come in 10 minutes early to relax. The procedure itself is really easy. It takes 10 minutes. We fit you with a heart rate monitor and a mask. And you just lay on the massage table and breathe normally. If you're an athlete, or whether you're an elite athlete, or you just want to optimize the workout you're already doing, you can do the active metabolic test. And that gives us even more information about how your body's working. So you can do the resting test, the active test, and a consultation with the dietitians. So all those can be done separately or together, depending.
You do all of them?
I do the resting and active tests, but the team in Greece does the food, and I filled out a questionnaire that I swear took me half an hour, because it's not just here's your diet. They want to know what your current patterns are, if you're following anything in particular, if you like it, what your goals are, what foods do you like, what do you don't like, what is it you won't eat. So they have a really, really detailed intake before you even talk to them. So I'm really looking forward to getting my plan.
Having a plan and following it are two different things. Like, you tested me, and I love rye bread, and rye bread was the bread I shouldn't eat. But sometimes I get such a craving for rye bread, and then I do suffer. My knee acts up.
Okay, so it's always a choice.
I know, whether you want to hurt yourself or not.
Whether
And then you say to yourself, why do I poison myself with this, you know?
Well,
But, you know, what's the activity that goes on in our body that makes us want to crave things that are not good for us?
dopamine.
But if it's not good for you, why does it make dopamine?
Well, because our bodies, we're pleasure seekers. We really are here. I mean, one of the things that makes us human is we seek out things that are fun. And certain foods, certain drinks, certain activities, you love that rye bread, right?
Right.
So,
You know, I think it gives me a
know.
comfort. It reminds me of my grandmother or
Yeah.
something. Like,
So-
I find if I'm upset and I go to get things that she made, that you know, it does relax you.
So for you, that's an oxytocin. You know, that's the love hormone. You might have seen the meme about get your daily dose. Dopamine, oxytocin,
And I'm not a hugger, so I guess
serotonin.
I got to eat red bread instead.
And endorphins. Our bodies are trying to create these chemicals to feel good. And, you know, we're just coming out of this pandemic where it's like, oh my gosh, don't see anybody, don't touch anybody. We're missing those natural chemicals. So our brains look for some way to seek this out. And it doesn't really matter whether your knee's going to hurt tomorrow if you feel good now.
But tomorrow I'm sad about it.
Tomorrow, right. So tomorrow, because your knee hurts, we got to get some endorphins going. So
Yeah.
how are we going to do that? You're going to go to the gym. You're going to get on the bike. And if
And
you
I-
enjoy it, you're
I-
going to get those
I
endorphins.
do the bike
Mhm.
on not, I was going to say rare occasion, but it's not rare. I mean, I do it because it does help matters.
Mhm.
But you know, is there anything else you want to say about this? Because if there is, go ahead. And if there isn't, I want you to tell them what else you do here, because they may not have seen prior shows.
Okay. Now this, that's about it for this. But generally, we're looking at metabolic fitness, cellular, your heart, your lungs, your metabolism, your metabolic age. That's how old you. Your chronological age is how long you've been on the planet. Your metabolic age is how well, what age is your body working at?
And
Are
I'm
you
kinda
older?
scared
Are
of finding
you
that out.
younger than your years? And you know, it's
So then
it's
you
been,
take this and you put it together, and then
we put together a program that will help you achieve what you want to achieve.
is this exercise, breathing, and diet, basically?
Well, there's breathing, right? So we'll show you how to breathe. You know, I'm always trying to get you out of pain, because that, you know, some people, like you said, they're hunched over, they're shallow breathers, or they overbreathe, underbreathe. You'd think that we would all know how to breathe.
Show us something about breathing. quickly.
About breathing. Okay, so one of my favorite breath trainings, and you want to start out doing this sitting down. I'm one of those people that I learned I'm an underbreather. If I am really focused on something, I forget to breathe. And my test reflected that, even though I was trying to focus on breathing. You know? So anyway, one of the things that you can do for yourself is square breathing. So you pick a number. Let's do 4. So you're going to breathe in for a count of 4. Hold it for 4, let it out for 4, hold it again. So it's...
Is that through your nose or your mouth?
So you're in, hold, out, hold. A lot of times we do in through the nose, out through the mouth. So I'll do it again because I actually didn't quite do it right.
Well, also, there's something about pulling in your stomach or by your diaphragm.
Right, you want to breathe from your diaphragm rather than your chest. So you should see your belly coming in and out. And do maybe 3 or 4 of those breaths twice a day. You can do it first thing in the morning. You can do it before you go to bed. If you're not used to taking deeper breaths, you might want to do it lying down so you don't get dizzy. But that's a really good way to retrain yourself to breathe right.
It also calms you down if you're in traffic, or if you're having a real problem, or you're waiting for somebody who's having surgery, or you're tensed up, or you're taking a test, or anything. You can calm yourself, and your blood pressure will go down too if your blood pressure's sky high. So it has a lot of effects.
It does.
Okay, so now that you're all breathing,
Yes, is everybody breathing?
we're going to talk about what else Dr. Coker does here.
Okay. So I am a naprapath, Naprapath, and we are connective tissue specialists. I do some body work, gentle body work on the spine and extremities, freeing up the nervous system, loosening up any muscle tension. So that is the structural part of what I do. I also do some light therapies, some vibration, things that help the structural. Then I work on the biochemical level, both with the breathing, also again nutrition. We try to help find the right supplements for you. And then my favorite thing is to work on the energetic level, because we are body, we are mind, we are spirit, and they're not separate, they're all together. So we actually have a dialogue with the subconscious. It might be through energy work, hypnotherapy, things that really help you heal. So everything that I do is to help your body self-heal. I love to work with people who have chronic pain, people who have depression, anxiety, burnout, just really aren't feeling right, but know that they can do better. And with this three-pronged approach that works on the whole self, you can really be the person that you were meant to be and live the life that you want. And
Did you mention hypnosis?
I did.
Okay, I missed that.
Yeah, so
That's very good for what we were talking
it
about
is
earlier
with the
about
smoking and the stress.
Leaving a tense job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of different things. But it's interesting, you know, if you consciously want to be hypnotized, but your unconscious doesn't want you to be, you can't be. Vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's hypnosis that you don't, a lot of what I do, you're still awake. So you're really just more in that relaxed state. You're not asleep, but you're right. If your subconscious always wins. So if there are some issues, there are plenty of tools out there that actually don't need you to go into any kind of trance or.
Well, they say it's interesting because when we drive, we're kind of in a state of hypnosis.
Right.
After you've been driving for years, you can't even tell them who the car next to you was or something because you're kind of in a state of hypnosis, just automatically doing things.
Right. It's a totally normal state to be in. And yeah, so you do have to learn to trust the process, and you will not do anything. Your hypnotherapist will talk to you about your goals. So there should be no surprises, and just working towards what it is that you want.
Well, people often are afraid of hypnosis because they say, oh, I'm afraid this person might make me do something I don't want to do, because they see on TV where they're told to do something, you know. And I've seen that happen in real life situations. Not that they were terrible things.
No.
Just that they tell them to do something and they would do it.
Right. The classic is stage hypnosis, cluck like a chicken. Well, the person agreed to be up there on stage, and yes, that can happen. But chances are, in hypnotherapy, your therapist is not going to tell you to cluck like a chicken. And if you really did not want to, you would not. If you really do not want to quit smoking, you won't. So you're in control. The client is totally in control during a session.
I did it for weight loss once, and it did work, like, well, maybe 6 pounds worth, and then for some reason I stopped. I guess I really didn't want to lose the
Maybe
rest.
not. Well, you know, my story is I did it for weight loss too. And I did not lose weight, yet that last little piece of depression that I've had for 50 years is gone. So I think that's even better than weight loss because, you know, now rather than looking at my body and saying, oh, I'll go, oh, ancient goddess, you know?
Well, I actually also utilized it when I was leaving my business because I had had it for a long time. I had thousands of patients. I had many, many nurses. I had to make sure all the patients were taken care of. I wanted to make sure all the nurses who wanted to continue working went to work for my friends, or I felt like I was losing or giving up on something. And I had to do that in order to go through it and to be able to handle it and disassociate myself from it, because otherwise I couldn't, because I felt a terrible guilt if the patients weren't all taken care of, their insurance companies weren't all paying, the nurses, you know, that didn't want to retire were still going to have another job. So yeah, I've used it for several reasons.
It's a great thing to do when you're figuring out the next step.
We've only got 3 or 4 minutes left. So is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you would like to say? I mean, I've had several different kinds of treatments from you on my knee, which, you know, has helped, or I wouldn't be walking around. And because I always try to avoid surgery.
Right.
And we've done a couple of different, you've had several different kinds of therapies and machines with different things for kind of an anti-aging thing and a fat decrease and things like that. So you're on the cutting edge here. You're always trying something new.
I know. But I really just love to have lots of tools in my toolbox, and I love to help people get to where they want to go. You know?
I'm trying to remember another test you did with something in my hand. I held in my hand. I don't remember what it was now.
That was the body scan where we tested. Yeah, we can test foods and supplements,
and then you did do the testing with the little bottles of different things to see what I was, you know. And everybody tells you not to eat white bread, but I was okay with white bread, although I shouldn't eat it anyway because, you know. And I had a nutritionist on one time that talked about that and said, you know, when you eat that white bread, especially when they put it out first, you ruin all the nutritional aspects of everything else you eat because it's not absorbed properly. Same with head lettuce, regular lettuce. And he said at the time, everybody has somewhat of an allergic reaction in their stomach to that when they eat it. Not that you're going to have, you know, have a rash or anything else is going to happen outwardly, but inwardly there is a problem with that.
With
so
head
try
lettuce.
to avoid head lettuce.
Yeah, I knew about the gluten because what it does, some people worse than others, is it actually opens up the tight junctions in your small intestine. So it's not like with celiac where it destroys them, the cilia, but you've heard about leaky gut. It actually creates a temporary leaky gut.
They say Quenya or whatever it is that causes leaky gut too. I don't know if that's true.
Which one? Quinoa?
Yes.
Quinoa.
I don't eat it, so I don't know how to pronounce it.
Okay.
And one other thing, they say if you scramble eggs, that you're getting the air into them and it causes more plaque and things like that. So try not to eat scrambled eggs. But eggs are good for you. Just don't scramble them. Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Rindie Coker, again, and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. I'm Karon Gibson, registered nurse. Thank you for joining us.